to use accessory muscles of breathing, which are the neck, shoulder, and chest muscles, instead of the diaphragm, known as belly or abdominal breathing. And what the upper muscles of breathing do to the nervous system is it activates fight or flight. And what the diaphragm or belly breathing or abdominal breathing does is the opposite, is it activates rest, digest, and recover. So that's your sympathetic, fight or flight, parasympathetic, rest, digest, and recover. So you're alert, survival, you're tranquil, peaceful, and they're also differentiated by bodily traits as well, mainly differentiated by bodily traits such as lower heart rate when you're working with parasympathetic or activating your parasympathetic branch, lower heart rate, more relaxed muscles, better blood flow all throughout the body. That's when you downregulate, you activate again the rest, digest, and recover, parasympathetic. Good way to do it: diaphragmatic breathing, paced breathing, slowing down both inhales, exhales, especially slowing down the exhales. Bodily traits of the sympathetic, which you activate mostly, by... Hi guys, welcome. We're right on time, that's perfect, thank you. There'll be more muscle contraction, right? Because the body is just ready to, react. We're getting ready to react because the brain is letting the body feel that way. There's restriction of blood flow to the stomach, for instance, because the body is just using all that blood to get the main muscles for running or fighting. So fighting or flighting, in order to keep that blood there for those periphery, the limbs to be ready. So it cuts the blood flow to the GI and to the digestive system. That's again sympathetic, fight or flight. Heart rate goes up because the body's just getting ready to start something. So that's basically the premise for the hour and so long breathwork practice we have today, is to start from the thought of the different areas of breathing and the way they affect your nervous system and your well-being. Welcome guys. Okay, I think we're, unless there's one more person ready to... Okay, well thanks for communicating, that's good. So I know that no one is gonna miss a thing. Welcome everybody. Let me just finish to go through with some essential oils. These are peppermint and a formula called Breathe from doTERRA, very cooling. I just would like for you guys to not touch your faces because it may sting or burn. Just put your hands like this and I'm gonna drop a drop of each. You can rub your hands and then get those hands close to your face, close enough where you can feel the scents. Rub them, exactly, blend them, and then you guys can just breathe deep. So drive the air to your, there you go, both in one hand.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Drive the air all the way to your, the bottom of the lungs. Run the air through your nostrils, run the air also through your mouth. Breathe through both for now. We will be discussing both nasal versus mouth breathing a little later. But for now, just try to run the run the scent through all airways. Nasal passages, mouth and trachea, all of it. When you inhale, try to push the air down to the bottom of your lungs, and that'll be almost mechanically pushing the belly out as the breath goes in, so that we will give room for the diaphragm to pull the bottom of the lungs downwards, expanding that bottom third of the lungs, which is the most important area of the lungs. So just a minute more of this grounding, welcoming exercise. Maybe hold the air in there after you inhale for a couple of seconds. The exhales can also be done through the mouth with an S long sound, or pursed lips, if you will. I like S better because I can hear it more. So I have an audible reference of my breath being conscious and active. Long exhales are very calming and very relaxing, because exhales by nature are more parasympathetic, are more, slowing down of the nervous system. So if you keep them longer in time, that's what you're doing. Awesome. Well, that was a few seconds for some of you, a few minutes for some of you, of a sort of welcoming, sort of grounding exercise. Breath is number one in survival, in life, because we were not able to live without air for more than, roughly speaking, 3 minutes. There's definitely world record holders for free diving that will hold their breath for plus 10 minutes or 10 minutes plus. But for the general public, I think 3 minutes is a baseline where you can go, wow, I go up past 3 minutes and something can happen. Although we're going to do 2 breath holds today, and some of you may be surprised on your own breath hold times. And breath holding as a tool to measure how good are we at sitting comfortably within ourselves, in our own skin, without having to be bombarded with thoughts from the outside world, or past or present. That's the first phase of a breath hold. It's almost like a meditative few seconds, say 20, 30, sometimes a minute, depending on your physiology. And then when the discomfort starts kicking in, right? Because the first phase of a breath hold is usually very pleasant, because your biology and Mother Nature are in your favor, lowering your heart rate as you hold your breath willingly, not being tumbled by a wave. So that first phase needs to be embraced and kept and cared for as long as you can, until you cross the line to the discomfort realm. And that'll be your CO2 or carbon dioxide levels getting high enough in your blood stream that it causes that urge to breathe that is inevitably, undeniably there. And that's when the breath hold becomes a practice that has to do more with resilience, with adaptations to discomfort, with increasing your threshold to tolerance, your tolerance threshold for discomfort. So 2 practices in one. Okay, this is the first thing that we're doing today, is a breath hold. If you wonder where am I coming from, who am I? Well, I'm a coach, and of course coach and a co-founder for Surf Synergy. And my background on these things, all breath related conversations and practices, comes from surfing and free diving together. And so I've done a couple of certifications in free diving, which teaches you a lot of physiology and psychology and philosophy even, and history, if you will. And then just kept going on my own, researching, and I accredit 10 or 15% of the knowledge base for this workshop to people like you. I may be sitting in front of a respiratory therapist or a yogi, advanced yogi, or an MD, or nurse. You never know. I've got knowledge given to me also by you guys, and then I apply it. Once I prove it, I apply it and I share it. So for those who came in first, which was super early, I appreciate it. Those who showed up perfectly right on time, or maybe even a minute, that's perfect too. But the point is, for those who probably missed a few words that I said at first, was the premise for the workshop, which is the fact that percentage-wise, 80%, roughly speaking, of the world population has a chest driven breathing pattern. Let's say chest, but it's usually the accessory muscles of breathing, which is all of the above here. Neck, chest, shoulders. This right here, on every breath. I'm exaggerating a little bit. It may be subtle than that, where people cannot perceive it, but you can perceive it. You can probably feel it if you pay attention. And if by any chance, like I have many times, have you caught yourself breathing with your chest and short and with your mouth and go, something doesn't feel right here. You should be expanding your breath a little more. You should be running the air through the nostrils. You should be like relaxing your breath a little more. Or have you ever felt a chest tightness or air restriction or air hunger? It's very common, right? More common than we would think. 80% of the world population, basically in modern countries, if you will, countries that have the ethos of go, 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 let's thrive, keep going. Resilience is not about taking a break, it's about taking the punches, and rolling with them. Well, that's unfortunately a mindset that proves to be sometimes not right, because resilience is based on taking actually the time to recover and to reassess and reset. So, all that being said, again, breath is the foundation of it all. Through breath, you can regulate your emotional system, if you will. You can regulate your psychological body, and you can regulate your physical body. And so today, again, we're going to be doing a few things, starting with a breath hold. The first breath hold, okay, so there's going to be two breath holds. The first one is going to be basically your baseline, your comparison starting point. After that breath hold, and you guys are going to take a mental note on that time, we will do a series of exercises that goes from your diaphragm all the way to your accessory muscles. So we're going to be warming up, powering those muscles, the musculature around your lungs. And at the end of the 3 exercises or 4 exercises, we're going to do another breath hold. And then you're going to notice how your second breath hold will increase in time because of an activation of nerves, psychology, tissues, muscles, fluid, etc., which are basically going to give you more flexibility, more strength, and more connection to your breathing muscles. Okay, because the lungs are organs that serves as containers for air and treatment plants for gases, CO2 and oxygen, right? But they're not muscles, they're organs. If it wasn't because of the muscles around them, above, under, around, front, and back, the lungs wouldn't be able to inflate and deflate. They'll just stagger in there, and we will die, literally. So if it wasn't because of that musculature, we wouldn't be alive. So we got to be thankful with that musculature and work it as you will work your biceps, your hammies, your glutes, your obliques and abs. They're as important. By the way, obliques and abs are part of the equation when it comes to breathing. They are expiratory muscles. You squeeze those when you want the air out, for an instance. So, without further ado, I'm just trying to touch upon, a few topics and be brief, where you guys can have a picture of what we're doing and why we're doing it. We're going to start with a breath hold, okay? For which I'm going to grab my stopwatch, my wristwatch, set it on stopwatch, and ask you guys to lay comfortably on your back so it's a better experience. I'm going to be here on the side, in the center, so I can see everybody from a lateral perspective. And the protocol is going to be the following. I'm going to count down from 10 all the way to 1. So when I get to 1, at that exact moment, everybody takes a deep breath in. So inhale as much air as possible and hold it for as long as possible. The moment you have to break your breath hold or finish your breath hold, that means you have to exhale, right? You raise your hand, okay? So I can point out your time and you take that mental note and keep it there, okay? Until everybody is breathing, then we'll follow with the next exercises. All right, just briefly remember the purpose for the breath hold practice is to know how comfortable can you sit within your own skin, relaxed, still, and really just work through relaxation from head to toes. And second will be your capacity to deal with discomfort when that urge to breathe starts kicking in. I'm going to start a countdown pretty soon. I'm gonna start a countdown at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ready? 1. Inhale as deep as you can, as much air as you can, and off we go. The clock is ticking. 30 seconds coming up in 3, 2, 1. This is 30 seconds. This is 41. Good job. I'm gonna get those times higher, you'll see. We are at 50 seconds currently, approaching the minute soon. And this is 1 minute. 1 minute sharp. 102 actually. We are at 106. 109, 112. That's good. Good job, everybody. We still have a few people holding, and we're approaching. That was 124. Those who are breathing now, that was 128, my friend. Run the air in and out with wider airways. 134. So those who are breathing now, just move a lot of air for a handful of breaths. Move a lot of air to offload extra CO2 build up in your bloodstream. We are at 145, and we still have a couple of people holding. 10 seconds away from 2 minutes. And 2 minutes as we speak. Just touched the 2-minute mark. That was 204. Breathe in and out, maybe through your mouth, just so you can ventilate a lot and move or remove CO2. That was 211. And I'm assuming everyone is breathing by now, because +2 mark for the first breath hold is remarkable, and not very many people do it. So I'll stop the stopwatch. Don't kill me if you're still holding someone. I don't think so. All right, good. Anywhere from 40 seconds to 2 minutes. What goes in there is where you're at now in this particular moment with thoughts, even nutrition or hydration, of course, physical activity and preparation. If, say, I have a really good best personal of 4 minutes, for instance, but this morning I went through a lot of coffee. I'm never gonna get to that 4-minute mark, not even like dreaming. I'm probably gonna be at 2 minutes, like half of it, okay? For instance, so just to let you all know that wherever you are at a physiological and psychological level right now, it's good. You know, well, your breath hold was good because it's fair with whatever circumstance you are. And then that number could be higher tomorrow. It will be higher in an hour. Okay, I wanted to ask you if you have anything yet.
When we breathed in, we were not allowed to exhale, or we could exhale?
That's a good question, but yeah, thanks for asking that. And this is...
I couldn't hold it all the way.
Okay.
I exhaled a tiny bit, and that can be very common.
Okay, yeah. This is very common. No, I don't think so, because you didn't inhale back up. So you just let go. Actually, you're sort of disfavoring your breath hold because you're letting air out that contains oxygen. And that little bit of oxygen that you let out with some CO2 most likely, but that oxygen will still nurture your cells while you hold your breath. So
Allowed me to calm my system.
that's a good thought. Yeah.
Sorry, we're not.
Yeah, no, this, I love it. And it is actually, I intend to go into this kind of conversations by not explaining all of the nuance before the first breath hold. Before the second breath hold, we'll go into stuff like this, but it is actually a good time because this question will come to mind, or this sensation will come to your body at some point When you take that last breath in and you go, oh my God, I feel that I really packed myself with air, and this feeling of tension inside is not allowing me to relax fully. This is very common, and thanks for bringing it up. What I always say is, if the fact that you let a little bit of air out makes you feel more comfortable, so you remove that thought and then focus on your breath hold, more power to you. That's great. But know though, there's a caveat. Know that by letting that bit of air out, there's vital oxygen that goes out that's supposed to nurture your cells while you hold your breath. So the like midline will be, okay, I'll just give it a few more seconds before I decide to exhale to see if my body will compensate and finally on its own, you know. I like the phrase, give yourself time, but I know on a breath hold there's not much time, so you probably want to do that. So for the next one, you already know that, and maybe you choose to follow that phrase like, let me just wait a few more seconds before I decide to, you know, and all of a sudden you may be surprised like, oh, I'm starting to feel more relaxed even though I'm super packed. Okay, I'll just keep that air inside. If not, go ahead and exhale a bit, and then again, it'll favor you in that sensation. Okay, this is great. Everybody took mental notes of your times, right? Okay, great. First exercise that we're doing is your diaphragmatic breathing. Can everybody see me from a peripheral lower or side vision? I'm gonna place myself standing up sideways, and basically what I'm doing here is pressing my dominant hand against my belly button, between my waist and my belly button, and this is pretty much where my guts are. And when I do diaphragmatic breathing, that means that I am engaging the biggest, strongest, and most important muscle in my breathing system and respiratory system, which sits underneath the lungs, and it acts as a pump. As a pump, how? By expanding the bottom of the lungs downwards, pulling the bottom of the lungs downwards, and then pushing them up again for inhaling and exhaling. So it presses and pushes, okay? And guys, the bottom of the lungs is the most important area of the lungs because you can see they're wider, right? That means that they have more content of what? Of course, air, but also alveolar content. And the alveoli or alveoles are your mechanisms of diffusing or absorbing the oxygen out of that air. So the more alveoles that are exposed to air, the more oxygen delivery that you will provide to your own self, to your own tissues, okay? 80% of the people, by having that chest breathing pattern, have the diaphragm waiting there for air, stagnated, lazy, okay? And this is very common. So when we engage into diaphragmatic breathing, by really bringing the air, pushing the air down to the bottom of the lungs, this is what we're doing, is engaging the diaphragm to exercise its function and increase pulmonary volume. And also, the diaphragm, as an amazing extra, the diaphragm connects by the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve out of 12 cranial nerves, to the brain, and it rings a bell in the brain telling the body to relax. So the brain releases neurotransmitters that will relax our musculature, lower our heart rate. So all in all, diaphragmatic breathing makes us fall into a more relaxed, level-headed state where everything functions better. And besides, again, providing for better oxygenation, if you will, usage of the oxygen, okay? So how do we achieve that? We achieve that by signaling ourselves, hey, this is the area that we want to engage and move and protrude. That's on the inhale, the belly goes out. So this is what I wanted to show you after all the talk. I hold at the top, even pressing out and down, and then hold at the top for maybe 3 seconds, and then exhale with that S sound that lasts 4-5 times longer than your inhale, okay? Bringing in more relaxation by extending your breath, your exhale. So let's do that. Let's start with the nostrils. But I know for some people nostril breathing is not so easy because there might be a deviated septum, or there might be some obstruction because of inflammation, or the turbinates being a little, or mucus. So if that's the case, guys, you have two options. Pressing your nose and your septum from the bottom up with your thumb, and try inhaling, and even like swaying from left to right as you press up, as you inhale, and see if there's a little opening somewhere. If not, you can switch to the mouth. But nasal breathing is 99% of the times more healthy for physiological reasons we will explain a little later. But for the purpose of training that muscle, we have to run that air somewhere into that area of the lungs. So the mouth can come in handy for training, for having more suctioning power, more traction. Exaggerating, making yourself, turn yourself into a vacuum of sorts, like really be audible, noticeable, emphatic about that inhale. So I actually want you guys to try a couple, like maybe a handful of mouth inhales with O-shaped lips. And what the O-shaped lip pattern does is that it restricts the flow, so you have to work harder to get the air in, thus engaging the musculature. The pump, right? To increase that negative pressure, that sucking pressure. Were you gonna say something?
No.
Okay, cool, okay. Okay, so let's try that. Let's do the mouth inhale. Really exaggerate or emphasize that. That suctioning, traction power, there you go. Now you can feel that belly really protruding, right? You also want to push it willingly, the belly up, okay? You want to keep those shoulders and chest semi-relaxed, and everything, all that energy goes to the lower areas. Again, with that hold at top for maybe 2 to 3 seconds, and while you hold, you press out, down and out, to increase that volume, to stretch that tissue, to relax that tissue. And that hand presses down at all times. And what the hand pressing down is doing is basically adding a little weight, a little pressure, so that the muscle have to work. So you're training your diaphragm muscle. On the exhale, you're actually training your obliques and your abdominal muscles, because those are expiratory muscles. When you squeeze that belly all the way to let all that air out, you're feeling a little tension there. That's great. It's almost like doing abs without the crunches. It's just almost like isometric, if you will, or dynamic tension, if you will. So there's many benefits for this exercise. Down regulation, better oxygen usage, more muscle tones in that pelvic area, in that waist area. Remember holding that inhale at top, being very careful of not letting the air go up to your chest, so the chest should feel and look very relaxed and not active. The belly is what we want to raise or protrude. The signal also will be the hand moving up and moving down. So for those who are not fully achieving to have that belly protruding, just exaggerate or emphasize more, willingly pushing the belly out, that is as if you're just pretending that you have a nice lower belly. As the air comes in, you push that belly out, and most likely automatically the air will access that bottom third. There you go. I can see more control now in some torsos, in some trunks. I can see more control, more of a targeted area that's being done correctly. There you go. Belly inhales. That'll be your belly breathing. That'll be your abdominal breathing. But in reality, physiologically, mechanically speaking, it is diaphragmatic breathing. What happens is that the guts, they have to move forward in order to give room for the diaphragm and lungs to descend more, because they need space, right, to move downwards. So the guts move forward and then they come back in. So also, as a byproduct, positive one, you're giving yourself a nice internal gut massage. Yeah. Good job, everybody. This will be a good down-regulating technique for before public speech or presentation or a conversation with someone or a match, a sports match or event. If you feel like you're overstimulated, you have to again have an uncomfortable conversation. Maybe this will be a good tool before engaging into that, sort of out of the comfort zone moment, because most likely it's lowering your heart rate, okay, and relaxing your musculature. Let's close this exercise with some nice sighs, maybe a handful of sighs. And I see some of you, I'm not sure if I calculated very well heights, and those mats were probably stacked a bit too close together. We can maybe do move, and I'm sorry to remove you from your laying comfortable position, but maybe we can just like slide this mats in front of us this way. Maybe you can just move one mat to your left, all of you, and then we'll just move the one that we had just left, exactly. And let's give these guys a little more room for their legs. That's it, just about like a shaka, like a few inches, that's it. That's pretty much it. Excellent. Yes, please. That's a very good question. In the beginning, right now, we use the bolsters because through the lower peripheral, you can see me as I am delivering the practice. But that's a very good question too. At the second breath hold, we will stay completely flat because the tilt will restrict a little bit of the airways and a little bit of the capacity that you have to feel this upper lung area. Same as bending legs. Bending legs will restrict a little bit, believe it or not, the lower areas of the lungs to be completely filled. We want to have, yes, please.
Our culture, especially, gentrified here, but for women, we're especially depending on when you were raised, like supposed to be small, like we're supposed to be like teenies, like shrinking ourselves in, like to extend our bellies, is like.
Oh yeah, and men too. And men too. Yeah.
So do you find that our culture of like what is acceptable physique has like
It counters our physiology in so many ways. Our God-given, perfectly designed physiology in so many ways. I always bring that into the conversation. My dad, well, our parents, they meant good, right? But they probably didn't have all those little, sometimes, right? I mean, we're talking like old school. My dad used to tell me, belly in, chest out. And what it did was it restricted my diaphragmatic breathing without me knowing it, or a tight belt. When you go to school, you have to like tighten that belt, and like high profile pants, or fashion, culture. Yes, oftentimes, it restricts us, right? It's almost like a restrictive element. So we should always, and you can ask this to any respiratory therapist, any yogi that's advanced, maybe nurse, free divers, you should always breathe with your belly first. This is the foundation, it is the bottom, it is the bed, the foundation in which everything builds. It is the diaphragm, it is the holy grail of breathing, and breathing is the holy grail of life. Because again, you cannot live without breathing for more than 3 minutes. And it is the first thing you do is you check into this world when you get, out of your mommy's womb. It is a nice inhale, right? And then you cry, oh, this cruel world, oh my God, what am I up to now, about to now? And when you check out, it is a last gasp, that last exhale, that's literally what it is the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end of life is breath. And it is what we do the most. This is some philosophy, by the way, just open brackets for some philosophical reflections. So it is 20 to 23,000 times per day we breathe. This is more than thoughts, unless you have a very busy head like mine, that thoughts may surpass your breathing rate, but it is anywhere from 20 to 23,000 times per day. And on top of that, guys, Without air, no more than 3 minutes, roughly speaking. Without water, 3 days. Without food, 3 weeks. Without people, 3 years, I don't know. Without sunlight, 3 months maybe. But 6 months, you never know. But air is the most vital. So we should pay more attention to it. Thanks for the questions. These are great questions. Yes. So part of the exercise is visualization. So we visualize ourselves breathing in front of our computer, breathing while we're doing the dishes, breathing while we're talking to our spouse or children, breathing while we're walking down, commuting, down the street, breathing while, and that breath should always start here in the abdominal region. That'll be a sign of your diaphragm being the first area, the first muscle being engaged. Again, going back to those concepts, more oxygen delivery because you're filling the wider portion of your lungs where there's more alveoli than anywhere else. And the alveoli are the little air sacs with capillaries that will bring in the oxygen and diffuse it into the system. More down regulation, so better head, right, to think and make decisions and whatnot. Better heart rate, better blood flow, so less chances of circulatory issues because you are increasing, again, your circulatory qualities. Many benefits. Not to say that when you top it off, with nasal breathing, then you absorb oxygen easier. You filtrate the air, so there's less pathogens prone to wreak havoc in your lungs. You increase nitric oxide in your bloodstream, and nitric oxide is a vasodilator, so you get a better blood flow. For sports and performance nowadays, nitric oxide is widely used and discussed. Nasal breathing is the best, okay? Through the mouth though, if you're a swimmer, you have to breathe through the mouth. If you're snorkeling or you're a free diver, you have to breathe through the mouth because you have a snorkel. After a breath hold, most likely to purge or offload CO2, excess CO2 in your blood, mouth comes in handy. After a sprint or during a sprint or high intensity, submaximal or maximal effort, yes, you have to open your mouth. You're gonna probably stress yourself so much by trying to run the air through the nostrils at those high intensities, exerting physical exercise. It doesn't make sense. Yes, you have to use the mouth. The mouth is not a sacrilege. It's not, a sin. It is just nice to know when to. Same as it is nice to know when to engage the accessory muscles, the chest, shoulder, trapezius, sternocleidomastoid, the neck muscles. Those, again, physical exertion, higher levels, heart rate zone 3, 4, 5, that's when you think of putting these guys on, the accessory. That's why they're called by science and medicine accessory muscles. You don't use them all the time. You put them on when you need them. Let's actually keep working our ways up. I know you guys are comfortable. Maybe some of you decided to take a nap without even wanting to. But let's sit now in a cross-legged position and pick a partner, pick a buddy to do a team exercise. Back there, they're all on pairs. Up here, I may have to work with one of you, I guess. Yes, please, thank you. So this is what we're doing, guys. Remember the premise, the thought or concept, fact, that the lungs are not muscles, they're organs, right? They're containers. They rely on the musculature around them to be able to expand and contract. Okay, we just worked on the diaphragm, which its main function is the downwards and upwards one, right? We're gonna work now on the intercostals. The intercostals, costal sounds like coast, but in fact, the truth is, it comes from a Latin word, costilla or costella is ribs. That costilla in Spanish is ribs. And so Latin is, I think it's costello or something like that, it's ribs. So intercostals means in between the ribs, okay? So these are the muscles in between the ribs, yeah. And you have two layers. A layer for inspiratory, so this will actually contract and bring your your rib cage out. So it'll, open the rib cage, and the expiratory layers will actually engage into shrinking or closing. So you can again pump air in and out, in and out. And this action will be mechanically felt. You will palpate that. This is the point here. One of you actually sits behind the other or kneels behind the other, places their hands into this lateral area where you feel the most bone density right there, and presses firmly as a corset, as an exercise tension band, as a bear hugging firmly, okay? And not yet, because you're gonna get some workout, especially your deltoids. You can be in position, but don't start depressing yet until I'm with the modal here. And so, guys, when you start pressing, the breather starts breathing. Now, no belly active anymore, so belly in, just so the air doesn't go down anymore. You force the air to go sideways to the middle. And no chest and shoulder activation. Shoulders down, belly in. I'm gonna do it on my own, and you're gonna visually notice how I'm trying to stay flat here and stay tamed or relaxed here. Automatically, the air is gonna wanna go sideways to the center. And my hands are gonna be a signal for that. They're gonna open and close a little bit, look. In fact, I'm getting my middle fingers to kind of touch each other. One more time. So emphasize more than on the diaphragmatic breathing, because this is a little harder, because we're not so used to using this area also, and there's more bones since we have the 12 ribs on each side. Press firmly, breathe hard. Let's do it for 5 cycles, and then we will switch. You want to start with me? Huh?
This is mouth breathing?
And yes, by the way, thank you. Mouth breathing, just because of the fact that through the mouth you can punch more power, okay? You can really make those breaths and those muscles to be felt.
On the front or on the sides?
Sides, yeah. And press firmly. Let's do it at 1, 2, right there. Press firmly, 3. I even have to remind myself to keep the shoulders down, because inevitably you kind of... At the end of the inhale, hold the breath, shoulders down, press out on those hands. And you guys keep pressing steadily with your hands. Keep your shoulders down. Hold the breath at the end of the inhale for 3 seconds. Lock the air in there for 3 seconds and press out onto your rib cage as if you're trying to spit the air through the ribs. That's it. 5 breaths are enough. Thank you. 5 breaths are good, because you probably get some strain on the deltoids. I don't know if you guys felt that.
We're ready for surfing again.
I know.
Go ahead, man.
Are you guys able to feel the expansion on the muscles and the ribs? You may have been able to feel the lats also engaging, the dorsilatmus, the latimus dorsi. Okay, right on. Let's place our hands in the ribs. 3, 2, 1. Good job. Shoulders down, press on those hands and exhale. After you inhale, you lock the air in, you bring your shoulders down. There you go, pressure, buddy. Yeah, it is a nice little exercise. 2 more breaths, 2 more breaths. Good job. 1 or 2 more breaths and we're good. You got a tough task, man. Dad is a strong man. I can see that. Last one. We're good. Awesome. Good job. Good job. So okay, so for those who felt a little, tension in the deltoids, tap yourselves, roll your shoulders back and forth. Yeah. Tap yourselves, maybe rotate. Yeah, and relax. Maybe squeeze those shoulder blades back, you know. Squeeze forward. There you go. Neck also, maybe just circular motions. Your neck. But you get the idea, right, guys? These are muscles here, and these are the muscles of breathing. Super important musculature. How can we train that? There's no joints, so we cannot do, you know, concentric and eccentric faces for, like, you know, like we do with squats or, you know, bicep curls or anything like that. So what's to do is press and engage, press and, you know, and activate. That's it. It's like wearing a corset and then trying to, you know, it's like two walls are closing and then you have to like press out. But this will be with your muscles for breathing. Excellent. So these are exercises you can do at home solo. If you don't have someone to press on your ribs, you can just wrap a belt around you. Wrap a belt and tie it, you know, or a piece of clothing, you know, and just tie it, or your own hands. Your own hands can do it, okay? So try it for a couple breaths, and then if you want. So this will be like a part of a morning routine. If you have a morning routine, you like to incorporate some breath work into your practice, I'll run you through a wrap-up at the end of the exercise of the workshop. Okay, great, excellent. We are now moving up to the accessory muscles of respiration, of breathing. Accessory muscles are chest, you know, so pectoral, minor, trapezius, sternocleidomastoid, scalene, the neck, traps, you know, deltoids, shoulder, and chest muscles. These are the ones where you shrug your shoulders up, and then by doing that, that's exaggerating, which we will. The last two ribs are attached to the top or tip of the lungs, and so by shrugging your shoulders and tilting your head back a bit, what you're doing is pulling those two ribs, and those two ribs are pulling the top of the lungs upwards. So you're gaining more space. It's all about gaining more space. I think this phrase, gaining more space, will be crucial to say when you're working with the musculature of your breathing system or your breathing system or structures. So it's gaining more space. And I want to stop and talk about one of the longevity main markers, good health and longevity. I'd like to hear from you guys if you know, if you've done research or heard of key biomarkers or indicators for good health and longevity. Can you guys mention a few? Some will be visible, some will be like trackable, you know, with like devices. Some will reveal themselves through a test. Some are like bone density, that's a good one, right? Heart rate and heart rate variability, right? That's right, yeah. Good. What else? Blood pressure, constant blood pressure, exactly. Huh? Sleep patterns, yeah. If you have like a good sleep score, it's trackable now through Oura rings and whatnot. Your Garmin's. VO2 max, a big one. VO2 max, a big one. What? Huh? Weight, yeah, may very well be for sure. Yeah, I don't know, it's because of not, you know, trying to be like politically correct, but it's not so discussed. But I will think so. Yeah. Weight, so weight management and whatnot, a body, you know, composition. What else? This is great, guys. This is actually one of the groups that has given the most. Even ones that I never thought, like weight. Yeah, HRV is one of the big ones. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. VO2 max. You said VO2 max. Well, this is where I wanted to get to. It is. Thank you. It is. Let's say it in this phrase: lung capacity. Your lung capacity. And your lung capacity, what do you think of when you hear that phrase, lung capacity, or that word or phrase? Volume. That's number one, volume. And where do you think the volume depends or relies on? Exactly. So it is the volume mainly, but it is dictated by how strong your muscles are, which is what we're doing now, training those muscles in order to have a better inspiratory strength. This is what a spirometry, an ergo spirometry test will give you, is to measure how strong you are internally on those breathing muscles. there's a score for inspiratory strength. How good, how tonified, how strong and flexible those muscles are from your nostrils all the way to your diaphragm. It's crazy. And so there's a score. And depending on that score, the respiratory therapist will tell you, hey, you need to do some, some exercises. Yeah, you need to work out your respiratory muscles because, I mean, if this persists and if you just keep forgetting of that, this will put a toll on you, in the long run. That's air restriction, tightness in the chest, COPD, the obstruction of the alveoli. I mean, there's so many things, respiratory illnesses that happens with a lack of motion, because motion is lotion, right? Motion is lotion and is longevity. So oftentimes the breath and breathing and breath work labels are misunderstood or not, or underrated, either or practiced in a way that's seeking to be too sexy, like the overstimulating breathing techniques like Wim Hof. And I like Wim Hof. I understand the method, but I honestly think that we should always start by the physiological, innate, traits of ourselves and just get to know ourselves better physiologically before jumping into outer body, more esoterical practices that may actually rev up someone's nervous system and cause more damage than good, because you just overly stimulated the nervous system. So this is more of a get to know each other. It is more as an anatomy class that we're actually applying on our own, not just reading or hearing it, but applying it. So okay, so that's some food for thought. Kind of feel like I cut a little bit of a idea that I wanted to expand or finish, but it'll come to me. It'll come to mind in a little while. Let's keep going up to the chest accessory muscles, okay? Remember, accessory muscles are named like that for a reason. You don't use them all the time. You just use them when you're walking off the driveway at a fast pace, or you're running, or you're biking, or swimming, or there's anything that really increases your heart rate more than zone 2, more than your aerobic sort of easy, if you will. Anytime your respiratory rate really demands, like, okay, I need to bring in more oxygen and more air in, okay, I feel like through this is not enough, then you start going here, but without forgetting this. Always starting here and then adding to it, not switching and only doing this, because this will be wrecking your nervous system again. It'll be just pounding your sympathetic. Let's do the upper accessory muscles with intention, sitting on our cross legs. If you like to use the bolsters, that's fine. If not, depending on how you feel. And this will be one hand in your chest. Try to keep the torso straight, where you kind of feel or visualize that your neck is lined up with your shoulders and your spine is aligned, and there you go, lower back is in. And you can put another hand, your non-dominant, in your lower belly, just to make sure that belly doesn't move anymore. And it'll look and sound like this, guys. One rep or one breath. I drop my shoulders after inhale. I puff up my chest, and then I exhale. Then I exhale. Okay? Let's do it together. 3, 2, all mouth for now. 1. Relax the shoulders. Puff up your chest. Relax shoulders. Exhale. Stay straight and upright. 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Squeeze that last bit of air. Shoulders down. Puff up your chest. Relax. One more. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Exercising that nice, strong musculature. Exhale. And last one for good measure. 3, 2, 1. Nice strong pull of air. Shoulders down, relax, puff up your chest, exhale. All right, you can place your hands on your knees if you want. You can stretch your arms, your fingers, you can sway a little bit, you know. Exhale, sigh 2 or 3 times. Sigh with sound if you please. Yeah, sure. Maybe a little rotation of the spine. A little rotation of the spine, a little rolling the shoulders, good. Awesome. So if I tell you that we just did an area that we overdo, but we overdo without the thought process, the conscious thought process, and now we did with a conscious thought process, which actually feels good. Because when you don't do it with the conscious, with the awareness, this area ends up not feeling good, guys. It signals distress, it signals that something is not quite right. And that creeps into our thoughts and goes, future thoughts, anxiety, right? Future thoughts of stories, that were oftentimes related to that pattern, because it is inevitably is our physiology, is our evolutionary physiology that tells us, hey, the brain tells everything, the heart, and hey, we're breathing with the chest. It must be that there's something wrong. Prepare musculature, raise the heart rate, hey, cut the blood flow to the digestive system. But then the breath is tricking the brain. So that's why you say, we've always heard the word or the phrase, the mind controls the body, right? There's a caveat for that. The mind controls the body. What if the mind is not able to control itself? Who's going to control the body? Then you go to the breath, because the breath is the one that can also deceive the brain. So when you grab the breath and you take control of it from your conscious side, you bring it away out of the autonomic side, right? And bring it to the conscious and work with it. Then you're achieving that full circle of control, which is a positive control. It's not that we're like, we're controllers. It's a positive control of our physiology in order to enhance it, benefit it, optimize it. So breath is one thing that's autonomic, that happens without us having to think about it, but we also can bring it to the conscious level and work with it, tweak it, just as we're doing now. We're literally fixing it. We're literally tweaking it, optimizing it, if you will. We're fine-tuning it, as you do with a sports car or a race car. And then we're just sending it again to the course to keep its course. And let it cruise for a little while. And then if you need to, tomorrow morning, you can bring it again to the workshop and do a few of conscious breaths like this and leave it again to go cruise, That's how I like to think. Is there a bird? Oh, these guys are always stealing the show. Always stealing the show. They pose there and that's actually a cool sight right there, because they usually like just walking around, but this guy is just like posing. That's so funny. It's like an iguana on an elephant.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of looks like a scale Jurassic scene. Yeah, exactly. That's fun. Take a picture of that, you can make a cool little content. Okay. So, okay, guess what? We're going to combine or unify the 3 stages that we worked isolated. We, bless you, salud in Spanish. Yeah, and same for salud when you toast. So both goes the same. So, salud. So, what we're doing now is unifying the 3 stages into one deep breath, into one, deep breath. So, what I'm going to do now is to demonstrate what you guys are about to do for a handful of cycles. Until then, we go into the relaxation phase for the second and last breath hold. Okay? So before that relaxation phase, we want to give it a nice, scan or pass through the 3 stages all in one. Okay? So I'm going to lay flat. I want you to watch me first before you lay. You guys can see. Okay. Most likely, if you guys can sit, that'll be better. But if you can see me like on laying position, that's great. This is it. I'm gonna do a 3-stage breath and just connecting it into one. Okay, one fluent inhale. Here I go. I want to do one more. Try to do it even better. When I tap, as if they were drums, they have a slightly different sound. That means that there's 3 different faces or containers. That's your belly, ribs, and chest. That's diaphragmatic, intercostal, and pectoral, thoracic. Okay, so this is the right order. Now the exhale, you can think of the belly at last. Okay, that'll make it easier to exhale in the opposite order. Okay, so just leave the belly at last, for last. So exhale will be, so keep pushing the belly until the air inevitably starts deflating from the belly. That way we are rewiring the circuits. If the case is you were there, as I have, on that wacky, dysfunctional breathing pattern, because society just pushes us there. By the way, from when we are 7, 8 years old, we were born as belly breathers, nasal breathers. Perfect, all aligned with the original plan, with the original user's manual. And then as we started to become aware of the complexity of the reality, and the kid that bullied us at school, if that's could be an example, or we stopped and watched the news for the first time and we saw all this mess, or I don't know, man, parents arguing or whatever it is. Oh my God, this is not what I thought it was. I was feeling so safe until a few months back, but now it seems like I'm gaining more consciousness. I mean, I'm not so innocent anymore. Okay, and there's this, and there's war, and there's bad people. No way, my parents were so lovely. How come there's like... And then inevitably, the first thing that gets affected and goes south is your breath. And then that's it. And then we just, if nothing corrects it in that moment, we just keep carving that path. And then the path of physiologically coherent breathing patterns gets forgotten. And then the diaphragm stays there, lazy, stagnated. Some blessed, fortunate humans have not suffered that for some strange reason. And I've had them here. And maybe there's some amongst you, or some that are like halfway, like, oh, I kind of feel like, but I'm doing good. And most of the times I breathe through my nostrils and I feel like my belly breathing is natural. Wow, more power for you. You were going to ask something.
I was just asking, like, when did we, like my mom was a prenatal baby nurse.
Uh-huh.
And as our culture, we, like, shush babies when they're crying.
Uh-huh.
We say, oh, let him cry, he's working it out, he's exercising. And
Wow.
I need to calm him down. And so
This is a very interesting thought. I never thought of it. And it makes sense to me, because when you're crying, you're actually squeezing those breathing muscles. It's like all diaphragm. Yeah. Trying to feel it. Yes. Very thoughtful insights, ladies. From that one, the one that you brought earlier with the belly in, and our cultural, like seeking for that, perfect posture and whatnot. Perfect posture sometimes don't align with what we've being sold, and now with the baby crying, it's food for thought. Yeah, food for thought. Well, great. Yeah, so if you can let your baby cry, just try to maybe like isolate yourself from like a group of individuals. Maybe that'd be a good idea. But let the baby cry. So you guys do the 3 stage. Let's do it, and that'll be basically more. Yes. Okay. So thank you for asking that. I'm gonna start storing. I'm just gonna walk through. Just don't worry. I'm not gonna step on anybody's hands, or you can maybe just keep your hands. I'm so sorry. We are now starting the 3-part exercise of the full or deep breath. You guys can do that as I gather the bolsters and I store them. Remember the right order: belly, ribs, and chest. Use the mouth for now because the mouth again has more suctioning power. We're gonna switch to nostrils at some point. But for now, we're just going to work through our mouth and trachea to be able to exaggerate, to emphasize that pattern. Yeah, even the tapping, that's right. You can tap, tap, tap. Just to reiterate the thought of having 3 containers or stages. Oops. All good? Sorry, actually let me just put it back there because I'm gonna ask you guys to go into Shavasana at some point. So your hands are gonna have to be next to you. Belly, ribs, and chest. Belly, ribs, and chest. Belly, ribs, and chest. On the way out, you leave the belly for last. Leave the belly for last. And think of all the concepts that we've discussed, how you are making your musculature stronger. You are optimizing your biology by doing these exercises. You are acquiring more volume or reclaiming your original lung volume. You are exploring the confines of your lung space. You're strengthening, you're giving more flexibility to those muscles, those structures. You're connecting with those nerves, vagus nerve in this case. Down-regulating, improving oxygen usage. All in all, starting to check that box for that one biomarker for good health and longevity, lung volume, which relies on your inspiratory and expiratory strength, on how good you can connect with each of the faces of the muscles, how you can control your physiology better than you did before, how you're gaining or regaining, reclaiming that control. Good job, everybody. Now we're slowly switching to nasal breathing, guys. Now that we have gone so many times over the same pattern, which is starting to get better ingrained or embedded, we switch to nostrils and we try to remove a little bit of that intensity off of our accessory muscles. We try to do, say, 80% on belly and ribs and maybe a 20% on chest and shoulders. Through the nostrils, in and out, and visualize yourselves now in any life circumstance that requires for you to breathe normally, naturally. Let's all run the air in and out through the nostrils, so no more mouth, either inhales or exhales. As you exhale, you can top it off by emitting a deep throat sound like the Ujjayi yogi breathing or ocean breathing. Some say is a Darth Vader-ish kind of deep throat. Even with your mouth closed, you can make it sound that way. There you go, exactly. And you can hum on top of that for sure. That's excellent. Now, while you guys get ready for, while you finish to do the relaxation phase, and I'm gonna ask everyone to have legs flat completely, no bent knees. Shavasana, which is a yoga pose where you have your hands next to you, next to your thighs or your hips, maybe looking up or looking down, however you feel. And I'm gonna run you through the little journey tools for breath holding. First one is an element from Yoga Nidra called body scanner, okay, in which you run a virtual imaginary body scanner that goes from head to toes and back up. And as that scanner sweeps through, you just become aware of even of the smallest muscle engagement or contraction, and just leave it, soft. So facial muscles, neck, shoulder, arms, hands, hips, thighs, hammies or hamstrings, knees, gastrocs, feet, ankle, all of it just goes soft as possible, okay? So there's more or less, actually, less oxygen consumption from those muscles. Run that body scanner. This is one of the things you do when you're holding your breath, okay? Is run a scanner. And in that moment when you're doing the body scan, you're letting time go by. And so time just goes by and you're not thinking of it. You're not thinking of time. That's number one. Number two will be focusing on bodily good sensations or sounds. It could be the water little fountain that we have there on that pond. Just focus on that sound. Or if there's a little bit of music on the background, you focus on that. Or there's breeze blowing. You try to really feel how that breeze, feels on your skin. That'll be another tool. Another tool, very nice and important and well practiced nowadays for coaching, performance, in the both business and sports world, is visualization. Visualization of your own art form, sport, hobby, you name it. Whether you're a chef and you're presenting this beautiful dish to a group of guests, or you're a dancer and you're just pulling this amazing move that you never thought you were going to be able to, or a yoga pose, or a wave, if that's your goal, is to become better at surfing, or finish crossing that finish line on that best personal, or something that really moves you. Visualize yourself vividly going through that epic moment with all details, with all full colors, okay? I'll leave you guys with those three tools: the body scanner, the bodily sensations and sounds that are pleasant, and the visualization for you to just work through. If you want to add one more, counting slowly in your head. 1 Costa Rica, 2 Costa Rica, 3 Costa Rica, or Mississippi if you will. All right, those will be 4 tools. Now, that last breath in, remember you just practiced and trained all of your musculature. Well, we're grabbing all of that training and putting it into one breath. That means that last breath is going to be a mouth because it has more suctioning power. 3-stage, belly, ribs, and chest, like full capacity, long capacity. Then you decide if you want to wait a little bit or exhale a tiny bit. Wait to feel if your body, levels, or maybe exhaling a little bit. But I'll say try to keep as much air as possible in you and just let time go and go into your journey. Each one has a journey. Okay, excellent, guys. Do one body scan before we enter the breath hold. One body scan from head to toes. Everything should be totally, completely disengaged. In fact, I think I forgot something. I'm gonna pour a drop of lavender oil in your index finger, and with that index finger, you're gonna rub the back of your ears. This is gonna be on your right index finger. Rub the back of your ears, both. Lavender is pleasant, it is soothing for the nervous system. So rub the back of your ears, both. And so that'll give us even more relaxation, more down regulation. It'll help us to have that last breath hold attain a higher number, higher count. So all right index fingers have a little lavender, just rub the back of your ears. There you go. And now we fully go into that last phase of the relaxation. Stay conscious and connected with your breath. Nasal inhales into the belly and ribs. Visualize yourself breathing very much in a functional way throughout the day, with your belly and your ribs being the ones. Nice nasal inhales. We're gonna give it a few seconds to prepare. Está conectado a uno de ustedes. Awesome, guys. I want you to sigh with sound. Sigh with sound. Let's sigh a handful of times. Let's sigh a few more times. I'm gonna start a countdown. Remember, when I get to 1, that's when everybody at the same time grabs that last breath of air and holds. So let's keep on sighing, friends. All of us sighing. Just really going into deeper relaxation with every sigh. Let's sigh a few more times. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, deepest breath of your life. 1. Good job, everybody. Good job. Starting the body scan, softening your facial and neck muscles, your shoulders, your arms, softening everything, giving yourself a little time to adapt. And again, you have control. You have control on your own physiology. 30 seconds in. Keep on working with the relaxation, softening every muscle in your body with your body scan. Excellent, everyone. We are getting close to a minute. One minute. You guys are doing great. And remember, that was 110. Good job. If discomfort shows up, let it. It is your friend. It's not going to harm you. That was 120. Just cope with it. Those who are breathing now, mouth breaths in and out, a few cycles with some emphasis. We just hit the 130 mark, people. Good job. That was 133 actually. Good job. Move some air, ventilate through the mouth for a handful of cycles. 140 currently, friends. We are soon to be at 2 minutes. We're actually at 150 as we speak. 10 more seconds till 2 minutes. Good job, everybody. We are at 2 minutes sharp. Amazing. Breathe in and out strong. Those who are breathing now, move a lot of air through your mouth. That was 208, my friend. 208. We are currently at 212. And we're still holding. We're still holding. There's... Did you hear your time? Okay, great. 2:30 as we speak. And I see something amazing. That was actually 2:33. We are 2:35, I'm sorry. We are at 2:40. So 2:35 was that previous mark. We are at 2:45, and I see diaphragmatic contractions, which is something beautiful of physiology, which is the diaphragm on its own, trying to restore respiration. And this is 5 seconds till 3 minutes. And this is something very positive, that diaphragmatic contractions. 3 minutes and 5 seconds actually. Breathe in and out very, very intentionally. Both of you guys, which were the last ones to push the limits so hard. We're still, we're still holding. And this is amazing. The clock keeps ticking and we are at 320. We are at 320 and this is a beautiful fight that we're putting here. Mental, very mental. Cross the 330. We just crossed the 330. 335. Nothing to prove here. This is epic already. So 345. 350. 10 more seconds till 4 minutes. When I say 4 minutes, you can breathe, please. And this is 3, 2, and 1. This is 4 minutes. Please breathe strong, in and out strong. There you go. Just a lot of breaths, a lot of breaths, a lot of breaths. I can prove that's right because she's even a little cyanotic, which means, you know, purple lips a little bit, which is basically just oxygen dropping. But oxygen is now recovering, and this was epic. This is 4 minutes and 2 seconds. And sorry that I kind of lost the attention because these two guys were also, I saw the diaphragmatic contractions, and that I had to point it out. Diaphragmatic contractions started happening with you too. It is when the diaphragm on its own starts contracting and expanding, pushing more oxygen to the brain to keep the brain safe. Yeah, so that started happening with you first. I'm not sure if it did with you, but it started then happening with you at the end. And this was a beautiful mental, more than physical battle, you know? Amazing, amazing. Some remarkable breath holds. Everybody put more seconds, if not sometimes even doubled your first breath hold time, right? That's great. So you can see, you can prove within your own physiology that when you train your breathing muscles, you train your psychology, you have tools to also do the things that you're doing with breath holds and breath work in general, your body responds positively, creating more adaptations. And so you can see it translated into time and also sensation. At an anecdotal level, you can feel like you own your breath more, right? You own your breath more now. This is great. I'm glad everyone has been so intentional and focused. So we basically finished the workshop with a little Q's and A's and a wrap up for a 7-minute, 8-minute max exercise that you can do at home that basically has all of what we just did. There's some more philosophy to it. There's stuff like some ancient cultures believe that you're given a certain amounts of breaths to administer throughout your lifetime. So people who overbreathe, who breathe very short and shallow, tends to run out of breaths earlier in life. And so that's just the moral of the story is slow down your breath, you know. And by slowing down your breath, that means that you're also exploring more depth in your lungs. So, and that'll be affecting positively your physiology. So, 4 exercises again that we can do with 7 minutes of our time in the AM if you want. If not, it could be any time during the day really. Diaphragmatic breathing at its finest. You can do it laying, you can do it sitting, and that'll be your belly inhales. Lock the air in for 3 seconds. Mouth exhales. If you want, you can do mouth inhales too. It depends on how good your nostrils nasal passages are doing. Squeeze it all the way in so that your diaphragm works more. Intercostal on your own, in between the ribs on your own. Really feel that nice tension, created right there on your ribs. 1 minute of each pectoral or thoracic, right here. That'll be 1, 2, 3 minutes, right? Now, 1 more minute, full breath or deep breath. Exhale fully, so start with empty lungs. Full lung capacity, 1 minute of that. Finally, lay flat for 1 minute, prepare. That'll be 5 minutes before you do your breath hold. Maybe your breath hold, 1 minute, why not? Boom, that's what, 5, 6 minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4, prepare. 5, breath hold. 6, guys, 6 minutes. Maybe just recover for another minute, just lay and go, wow, this was nice, I always like to use the analogy of placing 2 people the same exact model of you next to you, whether it's an athlete or just a person seeking for better health and longevity. The person that paid attention to breath through the preparation, let's say we're about to do a test, whether it's, I don't know, a 5K run or breath hold or even a mobility test. The person who paid attention to breath and did a little training, at the end will be a little further, a little higher. And this is a copy of yourself. All exact traits, but with that little difference. I like to put it that way. So it's just another batch, another star, that we're adding to our preparation for life. Please, bro. Oh, I thought you said,
No.
okay, you wanted to say something, okay. That is as for what you can take home. And then there's other stuff we can discuss. I read a really nice book called Breath by James Nestor. Is becoming very popular. This is great because the guy is really making, some heads turn and some lights to turn on. And that's, I started taping my mouth. And I myself can tell you, I started having lucid dreams after years of not knowing what a vivid lucid dream was. Crazy. So it may have done something. Those tapes can save marriages, whether it's the guy or the girl that snores like crazy, either or. So I always like to suggest that you try that too, because it is part of that optimization of both sleep and breathing at the same time. And I usually carry them with me. So I like to gift you a tape each. Yeah. And so with the caveat though of having to do before you go to bed specific nasal breathing exercises, just like the diaphragmatic breathing that you did, intended to tell the brain, hey, this is what we're doing tonight. You're not falling asleep scrolling. You're not falling asleep with the news. You're not falling asleep with, whatever. You're falling asleep to the command of nasal breathing, just so you don't wake up in the middle of the night like, what is happening? You knew what was happening because that was the last command you sent to your neural to your neural center, headquarters. So, and this is, by the way, a friendly version of it, which has, it's based on the same kinesio tape, you know, the K-tape premise of, instead of restricting, actually, well, pulling, you know, or relaxing, or pressing. So you're supposed to, each one of these, I'm gonna give you one, are supposed to be stretched about 30% sideways, put on. I just recently shaved, and I found it was a little bit challenging with my mustaches, but you try it. If not, I can give you another one that goes straight into lips. Because this one will kind of leave a little lip line free, and the mouth, I mean the center, the opening, so you want to, like, I don't know, have a little water or talk to, or even breathe because you feel restricted, you can still open your mouth. But it'll keep your mouth pressing inwards throughout the night. Again, do at least 10 rounds of nasal breathing, conscious, diaphragmatic, slow, deep, so you go to bed and you, and that's the last thing you do. Oh wow, that's beautiful. You got a lot of friends visiting that gets altitude sick.
Yeah, but it is worse if it sleep with oxygen.
Yes, I've heard that.
Just to keep, because
Oh
it's
yes.
so hard on our body.
This is very interesting. I really, well, there's so many things that I can think of based on that one thought, or let me just start spreading this. Of course, thank you. Maybe you can just pass them back and then I'll give you guys. Appreciate it, thank you.
Don't keep your mouth shut at 10,000.
Just saying, I don't really know.
Well, there's a few things. At altitude, oh gosh, don't tell me I ran out of this. Oh my God. Well, there was gonna be a moment. There's one more here, and there's others that I also like that have a cross in the center, okay? This is actually the one that I was gonna give you, so you can just maybe give that one to somebody else. And I need to order more, I just didn't, yeah, of course. This will be also good. I mean, they're all good. But these are kids friendly, right? And you know, if you have ever taped your mouth at night, then you give that one to somebody else and use the one that I'm about to give you. Here. Of course, you can just pass them around. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And my apologies, I didn't realize that I had run out of the blue ones. But again, yeah, everybody's got one? Okay, great. So at altitude, what I understand what happens is, well, and this is also not me, it's just research that I've done. Atmospheric pressure drops. So the concentration of oxygen is less. And the diffusion, because we absorb oxygen thanks to pressure. If there wasn't any pressure around us and inside of us, the oxygen wouldn't be, you know, pushed, because it is from a negative, it's like a suction that's based on that pressure. So, one thought. I was taught by someone who knows a lot, and he's a skier and he's a respiratory therapist, that at altitude what you can do, since you don't really have that pressure around you to, you know, to facilitate, to help the oxygen to be absorbed, is that you create that. You create yourself an internal CPAP, or, you know, where the positive end expiratory pressure, for instance, is a thing, and the internal lung pressure gets enhanced. So, demonstration will be: take a deep breath in, lock it in, and press out as you're trying to spit it through. Yeah, spit it through the, you know, through the ribs, spit it through the belly button, spit it through like the neck, and even let some of that pressure go up in your head. For which you kind of have to get a little bit like tense. And you do that, yeah, you do that hold for like 10 seconds and whatnot, then exhale slowly. Exhale, keeping that PEEP, positive and expiratory pressure, which is what we've been doing with that exhale. it'll keep the alveolus open, the internal pressure on. Repeat that a handful of times. If you have friends visiting and they're not used to, because you may be acclimated, although you still have to, do your oxygen, but yeah. Okay, that's one thought, okay? A hack for the altitude disease. Another thought is, you guys must have hemoglobin count that's way higher than us down here. So at altitude, and then when they come down, it is a process that takes a little while to develop. It's not like I've heard, right? Not a couple days thing. It's like a.
But we get oxygen drunk when we come to low altitude. Like it just feels like
Very interesting. And so, yeah, it takes like a week or 2 weeks or even a month to completely, like get that red glove count higher. These are two thoughts. I'd say another thought will be, wow, the oxygen. Okay, it made me think of the air quality. This is for other scenarios, but this is a cool, interesting side note. But what you said made me think of it. I bought air IQ tester that tells you, the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds content of your air, and your particulate matter, 2.5 microns, like tiny particulate matters are floating in the air that can wreak havoc in your lungs. That's why nasal breathing is so key, because you will filter anything, most likely. I mean, the mouth just direct access pathway to any pathogens to go into your lungs and wreak havoc in your holy grail of, your existence. But then CO2 is one gas that it is totally vital and necessary for life. It actually has been demonized in some instances. Like if we remove completely the CO2 footprint, we will die, because we rely on it to fulfill the Bohr effect, which is how oxygen unbinds from the red blood cell and finally enters a cell. We need CO2 for that process to be carried. But higher concentrations of CO2 may also be bad at a constant level. Like if we're sleeping all night with internal, not ventilation, but recycling systems like HVACs and just ACs that just circles the same air over and over, you may even have a good quantity of oxygen. But if CO2 is really high, and that'll be above the 600 or 800 parts per million, ppm, if you get your hands in one of those devices, there, Amazon, you can get reliable 5-star ones for maybe under $100. Some more sophisticated ones above. But if you see your CO2 levels above 1,000 consistently, that may be compromising your health, and starting with your cognitive performance. So very interesting topic. I recently started researching on that, and I am opening my windows all night, like 3 times per night, and my wife's like, what's going on? I need to ventilate this place, until we have the proper tool, which you put in the wall, which just brings the air in and out, besides that lets fresh air come in and doesn't affect the temperature. There's a tool there, very interesting. You were going to say something, somebody was going to say something.
why do we yawn for
Yawning has a couple of thoughts or ideas. Some people think it's like low oxygen levels, and then the brain is like, hey, bring in a lot of oxygen, a lot of air. And since it is a slow breath, deep breath almost. And for me, honestly, what makes more sense is that it is a parasympathetic signal. It is a rest, digest, and recover signal. Like when you yawn, it's also an indicator. You don't yawn when you're running away from, like a guy with a knife or whatever, a tiger, You yawn when you're like comfortable. So for me, when somebody yawns, like, oh, parasympathetic activation, that means, we're good. So that'll be my thoughts on yawning. Thank you. And back there? Okay. Well, I want to acknowledge your presence here by applauding. And you guys, this applause is for all of us. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. So, I might have, who's yeah, Rena. Thank you. I raced a triathlon yesterday. I got second in my age group, which is good. And it was like 150 people total in the sprint, distance. That's your 750 swim, your 20K bike, and your 5.6K run. And I did 19th overall, but I also lost like 3 minutes because I missed one little turn. It's okay. It was probably like 5 people that entered first, but it's okay. I would have probably finished like a 14th overall. 19th is okay, and a second place age group, 45 to 49. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you keep me going. Yeah, you motivate me. My swim was 14 minutes and 40 seconds. My bike, the partials, I have not downloaded my Garmin data yet, and the guys, for some reason, messed up some transition times, like they're not showing, so I have to go. I'm estimating, I don't want to say the bike, but the run was 23 minutes. Yeah, I could have run again. Yeah, it was super hot. I could have run better, but I needed to practice more the transition between, like. Trust me, that's one of my tools to be better at it. Gracias. If you guys, thank you.